Hello, my name is Olof Hedin, and I'm the CEO of SignUp Software, based out of Sweden. So I'm here in our office in Stockholm, wintry Stockholm with a couple of -Celsius. And we have our indoor soccer arena here just behind me, where we usually play our national teams playings. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about SignUp Software here today. So let me share the presentation. All right, so I think you can see my screen right now then. And I've been with SignUp in different shapes and forms since 2005, when I first started as working for a system integrating, selling Microsoft ERP system. Then we added this extra software, which SignUp software called Xflow is. And then I've also been the CIO of a couple of companies where I acquired the software and ran it in the organization I was responsible for. And then about 5 years ago, I stepped in as the chairman of the board of the company. And then prior to we did an IPO here in late 21, I stepped in as the CEO. I basically recruited myself. All right, so SignUp Software then is a quite clear customer value proposition. We help the CFO to automate the AP flow of his company or her company. We do that through one product. It's called Xflow, as I mentioned, and we take then the invoice incoming and processing that as efficient throughout the company as possible. We work with a subscription model, for 20 years. We never actually sold the software. We always rented it out. And it was a bit unusual in those times, but now it's mainstream. But that means that our portfolio of subscription revenue is very clean. It's 100%. 3-year based contract. We invoice once yearly in advance, and then we have about 85% of our revenue come this way, and 15% is consulting. We've never raised any external capital prior to the IPO, and that's because we have almost 20 years of profitable growth behind us. And the way we've been reaching out from Sweden and where we started is through the Microsoft partner model. That's we used as a springboard out in the world. And Microsoft looks very similar in all the countries that they are. So it's been easy for us to identify which partners to work with. And that way we've been able to get a much higher reach than we could compared to if we had to employ people in all of these countries. And we've also been able to have a very low churn on both our people and on our customers. And we are one of the few bigger ISVs in the Stockholm area. Most of the other partners are system integrated where it's consultants, but here they can work long term with the product, and that's been appreciated by many of our staff. So a little bit more numbers and pie charts. If we start with the pie charts to the upper left, you see the 84% in software revenue and 16% in consulting. It's still a complex product. So we need consultants to work with some of the customer that we sell direct to that does not work with a partner or want to work directly with a publisher. And also we use that to train the partners, of course. And then if we look at the second pie chart, you see a distribution. So about 30% is still on our home market, Sweden, and the rest is then outside Sweden. The fastest growing markets for us is actually the Anglo-Saxon countries. So we have Australia, that grew in 21. It grew 127%, I think it was, and then 60% approximately last year. North America in absolute numbers, that is our fastest growing market, where we have many very nice customers, both right now and incoming, a high deal flow coming from the US now. Many there go from paper-based processing, where in the Nordics, they're usually in their second or third generation of AP automation system, but a lot of greenfield from our perspective on the North American market. If we look at the lower left side of some of the SaaS KPIs that we have, is where we've grown our ARR over 30% CAGR last 3 years. We have also a quite efficient acquisition of customers, and the LTV CAC, the lifetime value of the customers towards the customer acquisition cost is 37:1. And that is the partner network. That is the explanation behind that, and that we sell about 70% then through the partners. Another figure that we're quite proud over is that our customer base actually grows by itself. And that is based that we sell our software based on how many invoices they process. And what happens when the Coca-Colas and the Madras firm and Viking Cruises and these type of customers roll it out into their big organization is that they keep adding countries and units. And that means more invoice processing, and that means that we can send a larger invoice to them. So last year, our customer base grew about 12%, and then we had a churn of 5.8%. So that we ended up on 6% or 106% net retention revenue. When we did the IPO, our midterm financial goals, 3 to 5 years, was 25% ARR growth, 20% EBITDA margin, and that we would do 25% in dividend from our earnings. Last year we did 30% in growth, and the year before that we did 44%. So we're well over the ARR growth the last couple of years. On the EBITDA margin, we've used some of our margin, about 10%, to drive the expansion and also secure future growth. So we have invested heavily in the US subsidiary. We started out in the US without any own personnel. But back last year, we've added about 10 people on the North American market then. So then gradually, we, of course, expect the margin to go up based on those investments that we've done. So we look at the historical track record. So here's the last close to 10 years then. You see that we have had a steady growth. We've been a Rule of 40 company since 2013 here. We had a little bit of a jump in the curve here, 2018, but that was a changing accounting policies. Prior to that, we invoiced the full year in advance, and we took the whole revenue in 1 month. And then we just redid the accounting policies. So we split that invoice and take the revenue 12 months, just split it up, the one invoice basically, and that kind of pushed the revenue beyond 2018 and spread that out. Also then, this is a picture of what we do. So you see to the left here, you can see paper or PDF, EDI, XML, whatever format the invoice comes in. We take care of that in something we call the X-Flow data capture. That's the scanning in the OCR part where it's needed. And then after that process is done, we get it into the big box here, which is the Microsoft ERP. Microsoft call it Dynamics 365. They got a big system called F&O or AX, the former version, and the smaller system called BC, Business Central or NAV. These systems then are standard for Microsoft in the cloud, and the customer has trusted Microsoft to run this. And what they need to do then is this smaller box, which is X-Flow accounts payable. This is what you download from the Microsoft Marketplace into your ERP environment. And that's the best of breed function that we provide inside of the customer's ERP system. So it's a familiar GUI for them, and they can work from there in the same way that they work with all the other ERP processes. And then we add a lot of functionality with machine learning and AI to do the pre-coding and recognize all the things and try to automate it. So if you have a lease invoice or a mobile phone invoice or whatever, it just goes straight through with no human touch from whether it comes in as a email here and it goes through here and it goes all the way. And then you can basically look at it and exactly what the computer has done along the way here. So it's a very high degree of automation. If it's too much money and it needs to go to some senior person, it goes on an invoice approval. And then we send it out to an easy to use web interface where they can approve it when they're sitting in the congestion in the morning or on the subway or whatever. But we see actually a lot of invoices are approved in the morning when people commute to work and in the afternoon when they go home. We also have a Power BI integration here where you can do the analytics and see what are the late payers, what are the suppliers that sends incomplete data, etc. So it's a strong end-to-end process where we handle this whole process. All right, a little bit about the market then. We work on the AP automation market, and that has a healthy growth. And then based on that, we have aimed to only go after the Microsoft customer. It's important for us that they grow on the ERP market. And Microsoft has been doing really good there. So we piggybacked on their success. And when they take over SAP customers and larger Oracle customers, it's good for us because they usually have a large amount of invoices, and then we can sell our software. So here's just one example how this ecosystem works with partners to Microsoft. We have one customer, probably a familiar face in the US, which is Chicago Bears. They selected Microsoft as the ERP platform. Microsoft makes a generic ERP platform that's not 100% for all verticals and or horizontal process. So AP automation, they need some addition, and this is our little logo here. So we are an ISV, independent software vendor, that can automate that. And that's actually sold by the partners. In this case, I think it was Sickage, a US Chicago-based partner, that sold this deal. And basically what we do, we send an invoice and license code or license key. And then you have four parties in this. You have Microsoft end customers, the ISV, and the cloud solution partner, which is selling the consulting hours to get it into the customer. Microsoft has been pretty good at managing this partner network, and we've been living in it for over 20 years. And we've been quite happy how they handle us as a partner as well. Because we are such small companies, so it's a little bit David and a Goliath. So if they would decide to step on us, that could be a bit scary. But I think we have a good coexistence in that way. So this is our board. The founders are still with us, father and son, Henrik and Göran Gardner. We got a private equity company with Eric Westlund that owns 16% of the company, and independent Cecilia Lager, banking person from Stockholm here. Christian Cederholm comes from the investor group that owns Ericsson, ABB, AstraZeneca, and a number of other companies. And then we got one Ari Liukko that comes from Microsoft. So I'm really happy with the board that we have as well. So a little bit about the business and the history here then. As I mentioned, we're over 20 years old. We launched this version of the product back in 2003, where it's built into the ERP system. Actually, we did it in Excel first. That's why it's called Xflow. But we discovered that having it being mailed around with a bunch of macros that had some problems with firewalls, and everybody did not have Excel and so on. So that's why we moved into the ERP system. We went to Australia quite early. Microsoft went into the cloud. We were one of the first apps that were downloadable. We went to the US through a partner first with no own feet on the ground. So we went through SK Global that has connecting software called TOS, Treasury Automation System, that takes care of the invoice when it's been approved and it needs to be paid, and the communication to the banks and so on. So they sell the bundle on the US market. We passed 100 million in ARR SEK, then that is about 10th of to the dollar right now. But we bought a company here in Denmark that was our distributor. We did the IPO in 21. We started up from scratch in the Benelux. We started up our own organization in North America last year. And then, or 2 years ago, 21. Last year, we went to Singapore and the UK as well. And now with Q4 release of results, we passed a 250 million SEK in ARR. This is just number of customers, 1,350 approximately right now, 110 partners, growing at a steady pace. Just some statistics over our customers. The top 10 customers is less than 5%. So we're very resilient. If we would lose one of our largest customers, we usually grow between 1% and 2% per month. So if we would lose the last biggest customer, then we would lose maybe half a month of growth. But we have a very strong customer base with Doctors Without Borders, Formula One, Volvo, Chicago Bears, as I mentioned, Australian Football League. That's our little football down here. McDonald's, the Red Cross, IKEA, Assa Abloy with the locks for all the big hotels in the US usually use their locks. Swedish Match that owns Redman. Just recently bought by Philip Morris, for example. And then we have all the partners that these customers listen to as their trusted ERP advisors. And that's how how they sell our products, because that's better for them to put this inside of Microsoft ERP system compared to have an external system that costs a lot of extra money and needs an integration and stuff like that. So that's been our winning formula. We have, of course, competition. Here's a couple of our colleagues in this business. Bottom line is probably the most known US one. They were just bought by Thoma Bravo, and they're now outside the stock exchange. Busware was also bought by a US private equity firm from the NASDAQ, were bought out there. Medius is another, started in Sweden, but nowadays with US ownership as well, and a number of other ones. The only two built-in ones, other ones, is Continia, a Danish company that compete on the smaller ERP system called Business Central. On the bigger one, we got one Dutch competitor. The other ones are outside the system. That means they integrate to SAP and to Oracle and all different types of ERPs. And that becomes a bit of a compromise for each single system and a generic solution outside that usually demands more maintenance and a different user interface. Yeah, so growth then. That's what's preoccupying me quite a bit. How we keep our organic engine rolling, and it has been going quite well. And we do that through geographical expansion. When we put some of our own staff in a country, we see that we sell more. That's because we talk to the partners, we talk to Microsoft, we talk to the end customers, and we convince more CFOs basically that this is a really good idea. And then when we get them, they stay for a long time. Our churn over the last 5 to 10 years, it's been around 3%. And when customer leaves us, that's usually when they get acquired from another group and they have SAP or Oracle as a system, and then we cannot support them anymore. And then, of course, some go bankrupt. Very few go to other system when they have tried our system out, basically. Then, of course, we only have one product today. So the upsell we do is a higher volume of processed invoice. But of course, we have a great opportunity to sell other software. And we're actually doing one launch now. We're the European standard and the Asian standard of sending e-invoices called Peppol. So we are now launching a Peppol module that will be bought over the Azure Marketplace, which is Microsoft's marketplace. So this is a new upsell we can do to the customer with the new product then. Then, of course, M&A. And that was one of the main reasons why we went to and did an IPO. That was to get some money, which we could use for M&As. We've done 2 M&As historically. That's a subsidiary down in Denmark currently. That was a distributor there. And we also invested in a vertical one. But we're, of course, looking to do more here. And we still got about 250,000 SEK in cash that's sitting there. And I'd be very happy to put that to work. If we look at the geographic expansion, we have Northern Europe well covered, and the US and North America. Southern America, we have some installations down here, but we don't have a really strong partner network, so that needs to be developed. APAC, we went up to ASEAN here with Singapore last year, and Japan could be the natural step here. But we're now working on stabilizing this one and getting the growth there. And then we have a lot of Central Europe. They're a little bit, lagging in the adoption. The most adopted countries towards e-invoicing and AP automation is Finland, I would say. They have 100% in the countries coming like e-invoices now, and all the companies basically have an AP automation flow if they have more than 1,000 invoices per year. Then the other Nordic countries are a little bit behind that, but fairly far advanced as well. And then you have Holland that is strong as well. In the UK, I would say. And then when it comes down to the DACH area with Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, they are coming along with a strong growth right now. And then you have the Latin countries with Spain, Portugal, France, and Italy as well, which is other big potentials. I think we'll make a move in this area with the next 12 to 24 months. We're 114 employees, so we are not a huge organization. But we had a partner training here the other week, and then we have 250 people from the partners logging in. So the power of our rollout is really through the partners, where most of the individuals that work with the system is. There's about 250,000 people using our interface every day, approving invoices. So it's like a pyramid with 100 people that sign up, maybe 1,000 partner people, and then 250,000 at the end customers. The software is today used in over 60 countries. Just some stats on our customer base here. I mentioned that our current customers grows organically just by consuming more invoices as they roll the software out. If you take Coca-Cola South Africa as an example, Microsoft reached out to us and say, hey, we have Coca-Cola down in South Africa. They're going to roll it out Dynamics in Sub-Sahara. And they're going to start in South Africa. Great. And we sign a direct deal with them. We pay the Microsoft tax of 3%, which is a good deal. I think that's a very fair price that Microsoft gives us for giving us deals like that. And then we sign them up, and now they're rolling it out to I think it's 30 countries. And that means that they're processing more invoices, and we can send them a bigger invoice. And we take all our 20 biggest customers, where Coca-Cola is actually not one of them yet. But they grew over 1 year here 14%. If we then look, a couple of years back to 2017, our biggest customers then, the 20 biggest customers, and compare them to today, the 20 biggest customers. You see there's an immense jump here. And that means that we are getting a lot larger customers that are processing maybe up to 1 million invoices, where most maybe were 20,000 earlier. We're getting the really big clients now. That are processing a lot. And of course, with our price model, that is very good for us as well. And here you see the historic churn then 5 years back and an average of 3.4. It was a little bit higher in 22. That's because there was a couple of companies actually in the US that did not finalize their ERP implementation. They did not manage to run that project successfully, and they went back to their old ERP. And then we have no way of competing since they have to be on Dynamics. All right, so a little bit about the financials. We just published our Q4 numbers for 22 and the full year then. So last 12 months, we grew 30% on the ARR, and we did an EBITDA of a bit less than 10%. I was aiming for 10, so it went a little bit less than I was hoping for. But if you add these two up, we're still a rule of 40. But the margin is a little bit more too narrow for my taste, so I'm hoping to extend that for next year, of course. But we consciously put a bit of our historical margin that's been around 20%. We decided to put 10% of that to investing in these new companies, and the US has been our major focus. So we added 14 people in the first half year, added 2 people total in the second half year. And mainly it's been in the US, because we see it's a time to market question in the very big market of the US. And we saw great results from that. From August and on, the US has actually been the best addition in added ARR if we look month per month. So I'm very happy with that development. And if we look at the bridge here, you see there's a bit of churn and there's a little bit of upsell, and there's an FX effect here. The crown has gotten stronger towards the dollar. So that takes us down a little bit, but in general, during last year, there was a strengthening of the dollar towards the Swedish crown. And then we have the new logos, which is every month is the main part for us. And when we pass then now 250 million SEK in ARR, but we are quite predictable company where we just keep adding every month, basically. So if we look at the full year, then we now have market cap of about a little bit less than 2 billion SEK. We've done both ARR growth and the year-over-year sales actually invoiced is around 30%, both of them. And we have about 70% of sales, as I mentioned, outside the US, outside Sweden. And then we have North America and Australia, New Zealand as our fastest growing markets. All right. So with that, I leave you, and I thank you for your attention. And I guess the things to remember about SignUp is that we are AP automation company, growing fast in the US and in all the markets actually that we step into. We've been around for 20 years, listed at the NASDAQ under the ticker SignUp. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye-bye.